What is going on, everybody? My name is Dakota, and welcome back to Cologne. Today, we're going to be looking at and talking about some of my favorite fragrances that are good transitional fragrances from summer to fall. All right, so during the transition period from summer to fall, that is whenever you end up having nice, cool evenings, but the days still get kind of hot. So, what I like to do is try to find fragrances that are still kind of light, but still have a richness to them, and where you can start to kind of ease into some of those darker, richer, maybe even more sweeter style of fragrances. So, the first up on the list for today is going to be YSL's La Nuit Alone. This is a wonderful fragrance that has some citrus to it. It's got a little bit of warmth to it. It's got just a tiny touch of sweetness to it. And it's a fragrance that could be done very well for those transitions that the day's not going to be as hot as it was, but the nights are still kind of cool. That is where the makeup of this fragrance is going to absolutely shine, because in this fragrance you have a lot of beautiful florals, you have a little bit of the woody nature to it, you've got a little bit of an earthiness to it, and it holds on to some of the citrus, holds on to some of the florals that everyone likes to see from summer, but has some of the wood richiness and a little bit of that earthiness that a lot of people really like to wear when fall gets upon us. But yeah, that is going to be first up on the list, and that is going to be YSL's La Nuit Alone. All right, now second up on this list is going to be Prada L'Homme. This fragrance is a beautiful floral fragrance that has like the clean linen vibe. This has a good dose of iris in here, so you get a little bit of that lipsticky smell. But what that iris does is gives this a little bit of a richness that makes this an awesome performer, specifically for me in the fall, because this is one of those where it's a clean linen soap kind of smell that's got a little bit of a woody nature with a lot of that iris in the background of it, but the performance does well enough for especially for an eau de toilette concentration, that you can wear this in a little bit colder and still get good performance out of it. So if you want one of those fragrances that's going to give you summer vibes but in a cooling nature, this one would be one for you. That's why this is an easy reach for me in the fall. And for me, what makes this more of a fall fragrance than, say, a spring fragrance is mainly the iris, because the iris mixed with some of the florals in this, and when you compare that to the geranium, the sandalwood, and the amber that this can put off, that's why a little bit of a warming nature for such a fresh, clean soap kind of smell. And when you mix all that together, what you're left with is a fresh, clean, soapy fragrance that honestly, to me, is better suited in maybe a little bit colder or cooler conditions than, say, your normal fresh, linen-y, clean type of smell. So a lot of fresh, clean smells, they only produce well in the hot, because a lot of times when it gets cold, they don't really expand with the heat on your skin, and they can be a little bit synthetic. Some of them get a little cloying. This one doesn't do that. In the cold, this one still sticks to you, and it still finds a good way to perform. And that is why that is going to be the next up on the list. And again, that is Prada L'Homme. Alrighty, so next up on our list is going to be Dolce & Gabbana The One Eau de Parfum. The reason this one is a fall reach for me is because this still has a little bit of citrus openings with some of that grapefruit, but what this also does is has some of the depth to it with some of that tobacco, with some of the ginger, some of the amber. So this fragrance is one that has a lot of layers to it. It does take a little bit to dry down, but what you get with that is a fragrance that is a little bit more versatile for being a little bit of a darker and maybe a richer fragrance. And honestly, the performance issues that this one has kind of leads itself to be a fall fragrance. So if it's a really hot day, you ain't got to reach for it. If it's a cooler day with mid temps, you can reach for this one real easy. This has a relaxing, warmth, inviting nature to it. Good for when the leaves are changing. To me, this is kind of like a campfire fragrance, like around the house, stuff like that. And plus, this is just going to be one of those fragrances that everyone's going to love. This fragrance was a hype monster when it was released. It's still a very much hype fragrance today, because it's a fragrance that everyone's familiar with and that everyone loves to keep around. All right, and again, that is going to be Dolce & Gabbana's The One Eau de Parfum. Alrighty, so next up on the list for me, I feel like is an extremely underrated fall fragrance, and that's going to be Dior Homme. Specifically, this one is the Dior Homme 2020. To me, fall is where this fragrance becomes the most versatile, because the wide range that this fragrance can cover. If you want a woody fragrance, if you want a fresh fragrance, if you want a fragrance to have a little bit of powderiness to it, but still have a little bit of a citrus, to where you can swing this one from the warmer days to the cooler evenings, this is going to check every single one of those boxes. This is arguably one of the most versatile fall fragrances out there, and a lot of people really don't give this one that much credit for the fall season, because to me, this has everything you could want. It's got some bergamot off the top if you want a little bit of that citrus. It's got cedar, it's got rich cedar notes in the mid, so you get a lot of that wood. It gives you like a little bit of a clean little fougere vibe that still has more than enough performance. It'll do well enough when it's warm, but it will give you amazing performance when it's cool. Through all of that, it's not going to get real synthetic when it gets real cool. It's not going to get overly cloying when it's hot. This fragrance to me is one that can kind of balance between both worlds. And a lot of people will prefer the original Dior Homme, the one that had iris in it. Like I said, this is the 2020 version. I get a little bit of that earthy iris note out of this. And to me, that is one of the things that just pulls the fragrance together, because it's not overwhelming iris like in Dior Homme Parfum or the original. This one is a little more dialed back. It's a little more relaxed. It's a little more clean. And that's why this one would be perfect for when the leaves are changing, when it's fall time, when it's setting around the fire season. This would check every box that you would have for that. Alrighty, so these next few fragrances, these are going to be whenever we get a little bit deeper into fall. These are going to be whenever a lot of the warm days are gone. This is when you're going to be looking at the cool to cold days. And the first up on that list is going to be Azzaro, the Most Wanted Parfum. To me, this hailed as a king of a transitional piece. This has that sweet, warm, gourmand, smoky kind of vibe to it that will give you all day performance. This is one of those fragrances that is almost intoxicating. This is one of them that whenever you wear this, you're going to want to wear this in colder settings. You can wear this indoor, you can wear this outdoor. The colder it is, the better it is going to perform. But the reason I put this in a fall category, because the scent profile that you get with this, because whenever you wear this, you're going to get a mouth-watering gourmand with some of that bourbon vanilla, some of the wood notes they used in this, some of the ginger coming off the top. Now, whenever it's a hot fall day, this probably isn't going to do that well for you. That's why I said this one is more so like when you've transitioned all the way into fall, all the hot days are gone, and you're looking at jacket and hoodie weather now. This is a fragrance that you can put on. It's going to give you that warm, inviting smell that's just going to want to pull people closer into you, and this fragrance will last all day. So last on the list, but not least, we are going to be looking at Jean-Paul Gaultier's Le Mal Elixir. So this should be a no-brainer for everyone as a fall to winter fragrance, but for me, I love to wear this one in the fall time specifically. This has a beautiful honey note. It's very rich. It's got that sweet vanilla. It's got the benzoin. It's got undertones of tobacco in the background. It still has a little bit of a floral aromaticness to it that can almost keep some of those heavy hitting notes a little bit light. I feel like that is what pushes this to be an amazing fall fragrance. So at one point in time, I had Le Mal Le Parfum as more of my fall fragrance. But the more I wear this one compared to that one, I feel like this one fits that fall vibe just a little bit better, because you get a little bit of the gourmand out of the honey. You get a little more of that holiday season kind of vibe out of it. To me, the perfect time to wear this would be anywhere from that Halloween to Thanksgiving. This is going to give you a little bit of that dark richness. It's going to give you a little bit of that earthiness. It's going to give you a whole lot of that sweetness, and this is one of those fragrances that you never have to wear performance out. This thing is a performance monster. When you spray this on, 6 or 7 sprays is all you're going to need. That is going to get you all day performance. You're going to get a fragrance that smells very natural, one that's very warm, it's very inviting. This fragrance is going to do everything you're going to need it to do. This will check every box that you have, especially if you're someone who loves deep, rich, sweet fragrances that has a lot of undertones in the background. It's got little touches of floral, it's got little touches of tobacco, and on top of that, it's just got all the sweetness you could want out of a fragrance. And to me, this one leads itself to be extremely versatile, anywhere from fall all the way through winter. But just in my collection, this is an easy fall grab for me. But that is going to get us wrapped up for today. Let me know how y'all feel about these kind of videos. Traditionally, I just do review videos. Kind of want to branch out, kind of want to expand and get into doing some little bit of other stuff. If this is something y'all are interested in seeing or want to see more of or anything like that, happily let me know in the comments. This is kind of fun to kind of branch out and do some other stuff. But also, as I like to say in every video, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for subscribing, for sticking around, for staying tuned, watching the videos, all the feedback and everything. I truly appreciate that. And as always, we will see you next time.